Hey, welcome to another adventure in old code. Today we are going to look at the second installment of LasrGame, Laser 2. Okay, Laser 2. Joey's LasrGame 2. Note, I wrote this in one sitting without ever getting up. That suggests two things. This is going to be very ugly code. Of course, I didn't put much thought into any of the code I wrote, so maybe this will be the same quality. It also suggests that it's not very long or stole a lot of code from other existing programs. It's hard to make something in one sitting without ever getting up, but apparently I did it, and we'll have us look at why. Okay, let's run it. Well, now that you've destroyed the Zalkunians, the Prime Minister of the world has given you a further assignment. Go and destroy the Zalkunian homeworld, Zalkunia. So now you, Savior of the Earth, have to go and fight more Zalkunians. You will now embark on the long journey to Zalkunia. Please be careful. There are Zalkunians along the way, and we can't afford to lose you. You are the only one with experience in this area. Okay, anyway, the Zalkunians now move toward you and are able to move freely. Be careful. Do not let them too close. You will, of course, be sucked in through the cell membrane and be devoured in their cytoplasm. We have also modified your ship just a little. We've also modified your ship just a little and have come up with some new designs. New lasers that won't run out. And a new computer system that gives the pilot a 3D view of the Zalkunians. Even with the original top-down 2D view, I'm sure the pilot of that ship was seeing the Zalkunians in 3 dimensions. All right, that's it. I for instructions. There are some new rules by which the Zalkunians follow since the last time you met. Here is the list. Lasers never run out. Yes. You have 1 minute for the Zalkunians in each screen, and Zalkunians take 5 hits. That's it. Press any key to continue. All right, so I've totally changed the Zalkunians' physiology. Remember in the last game you shot them once and then they split, and you shoot them 7 times and they're all dead. So now they take only 5 hits. Maybe that can be contributed to the new fancy lasers. Yeah, we'll give it that. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I've got timer in the top and the nice crosshairs in the center of the screen, and there's the big Zalkunian coming towards me. The arrow keys are moving me into position. So when I hit the right, the Zalkunian moves to the left. When I hit up, he moves down, just like a 3-dimensional view. Very, very nice. And I'm guessing spacebar. Ooh. He turns red, and then he turns blue, and then he turns brown, and then cyan, and then he explodes. Oh, and now there are 2. And now they're coming. And let's see if this follows the same. Yes, so you can shoot a few through. The laser will kill it, the current Zalkunian and every Zalkunian behind it. Woohoo! So when I fire, everything pauses. And we can figure out why. I mean, I'm sure it is just the drawing of the lasers. Oh, I missed it. Okay, we'll get this one. So it seems like when they go off the screen to the top, they scroll around. That's a fun trick. So they're always on screen. If I go down, he'll continually appear to be moving up. So I don't have to go finding any Zalcunians. They're just always here. Okay, well, I think I'm just going to let this one expire and see what happens. And actually see what happens when the Zalcunians get really big. One could imagine that when they get too close, they'll run into me. But if they get too close, then I can look at this. Shooting this would probably, yeah, hits all three of them. So I'm staying put right now, and this white one is moving away from me. So they must have a velocity. Oh, now I'm not pressing any buttons. So there's some lag as they get bigger and bigger. Oh, you ran out of time. You and your dang coffee, you're dead. That's a reference, a shout out to the original laser game. When you ran out of time, it gave you a message about something. You just wanted to drink a cup of coffee and you ran out of time. So there we go. All right. Perfect. Oh, was there something? That was funky. Okay. Laser 2. Let's have a look at this program I wrote in one sitting without ever getting up. XFAC, YFAC, FAC, and RADFAC. That sounds like a couple of Hebrew guys getting put in the fiery furnace. FAC and RADFAC. Okay. Anyway, X and Y, and I've done this terrible spelling. These are all arrays. Interesting. So there's 50. Oh, whoops. I missed a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, intro, instructions, fire, right, left, up, down, ending 1, ending 2, good, end. Now this is interesting. They all end in a dot. So I must have just gotten tired. Actually, I don't think a single one of these would be able... I think none of them are commands. Unless I wanted to use them as variables, but I don't think so. So I think I just decided for this program to end all my subroutines in a dot. Why the heck not? Okay, X, Y, and rad. So 15 values. I'm going to assume this is the XY coordinate of each Zalcunian and its radius. Okay, call, no clue. Count, XFAC, YFAC, FAC and RADFAC, X. Okay, so those all of them have 15. So I'm assuming at most 15 Zalcunians will be on screen. That's my guess. And then I've got these 2 values for X and 2 values for Y. Terrible, terrible, terrible name. Terrible spelling. Anyway. Okay, your left, right, up and down. Press as string. Press is a variable, and circ is an integer. All right. Random number generator, randomizing the timer. Screen 12, like always, clearing the screen, setting up my arrow keys, which we've discussed numerous times. So I won't get into that. Now, circ equals 0, and then we do the intro. And the intro prints the message. Okay. And again, this is exactly the same as laser, the original laser game. But not able to configure the keyboard. No configuring the keyboard this time. Okay. Loop until we hit the enter button or an I. If we do I, then go to the instructions. That's it. Press any key to continue. Okay. Clearing the screen, and now here's our game loop. Des equals 0. Circ equals circ plus 1. Shots equals 3. Shots equals 3. Okay. I have unlimited lasers in this game, so what the heck is shots? Oh well. For A equals 1 to circ. Okay. Circ is going to be the number of Zalcunians in the screen. And I think that is similar to the first laser game. Anyway, doesn't matter. A lot of these variable names will be the same. Okay, so for each Zalcunian in the screen, or in this level, we are going to, we are going to pick a random X value and a random Y value, and we're looping until, the value that we've chosen divided by 5 is equal to the value that we've chosen divided by 5, and then chop off all the decimals. So I've discussed this last time. Last time we were trying to get the Zalcunians to line up in 10 pixel increments. You remember, so our ship can always be in the center of the Zalcunian, because our ship only moved 10 pixels at a time. This time, I'm saying we're going to have basically a 5-pixel grid. So the center of each Zalcunian is going to be on the intersection of this big 5-pixel grid. Okay? So you can't have a coordinate for a Zalcunian that's like 273,50. It's got to be, both of them have to be multiples of 5. Okay, and then the radius is going to be randomly between 1 and 25. And the color is going to be 15, which is nice, bright white, which is what we saw. So each Zalcunian gets a random coordinate, randomly between 1 and 25 radius, and the color is bright white. Count of A equals 1. Now count is an array holding 15 different values, and they're integers, no decimal places, so we're setting that to 1. For each Zalcunian. So each Zalcunian has an associated value in count, and we're setting its value to 1. So the first Zalcunian, count 1 is going to be 1. The fifth Zalcunian, I guess, is connected to count 5. I'm not sure what these count variables, count values do. Okay, FAC equals random number between, this will be 1 and 10, and then we're adding a 10. So between 11 and 20. FAC in all of my programs thus far has stood for the speed, or the difference a variable will be changing. So this suggests some sort of speed variable to me. Okay, and again, we're still setting up this one Zalcunian, so he gets a random FAC value, and then we're looping until XFAC. Okay, so we're choosing random values for the XFAC and YFAC. Oh, interesting. So what I said about FAC here, suggesting that it was some sort of speed variable, ignore me. That's not true. It's XFAC and YFAC will be your X speed and your Y speed. But because they can move, to the left or to the right, we're going to want values positive X speeds, basically, and negative X speeds. Because a negative speed will move him to the left and the positive speed will move him to the right. So what I've done here is I said, okay, randomly choose a number between 1 and 9 for the X speed, but then which is always going to be positive, but then subtract 5. So if the random number was 1, then the resulting x speed would be -4. And if it was 9, it would be 4. So this is a random number between -4 and 4, but then I decided I don't want him to be stationary in any direction, in any direction. So in the x direction or the y direction, he has to be moving. And so I loop until the random number is not 0. So it could be -4, -3, -2, -1, or 1, 2, 3. And that is similarly for the y-fac. All right, so still setting up the Zalcunian. Now the rad-fac, the radius speed, rad, the factor by which the radius increases, perhaps? We'll see. This is randomly between 6 and 15, and then you divide by 10. Now, rad-fac better be singles and not integers, because that's going to result in some decimals. Where's my rad-fac? Oh, jolly. So, okay, here you can see rad-fac is being declared as an integer, which doesn't have decimals. Here, I'm building out this value for it that's going to be 6 at its low end. It'll be 6 divided by 10, which is 0.6, but it's an integer, so it's 0. And at its high end, this will be 15 divided by 10, which is 1.5, but it's an integer, so it's 1. This literally is 0 or 1. Now, that's what happens when you cast. Maybe I should verify what happens when you declare something as an integer. And maybe we've done this already. Dim x as integer. And then I'm going to say x equals 6 divided by 10. And then I'm going to print x. And we're going to clear the screen. And we'll see. Okay, never mind. It rounds it. So when you cast it, if I said int like this, this is casting it. This will be 0. But when you try and put a decimal value into an integer, it will actually round it for you. Okay, so this, if this was 15, this becomes 2. Okay. Okay, so that was interesting. So this will get rounded, not truncated. Okay, rad-fac. But still, you're still going to have a random number between 1 and 2. And here's the interesting thing. Oh, maybe we should try that. Does it actually round it, or does it just round it up? So let's say x equals 3/10. It's 0. So it will. It will. It's going to, I feel like we've done this before. If it's 5/10, it rounds down. If it's 51/100, it'll round up. So anything greater than 0.5 gets bumped up. So that's okay. Good to know. We might have to fix something here. So my thought was I'd have, this would be anywhere from 0.6 up to 1.5 in probably some continuous thing. But this is actually, in real life, not the case. This will be 0 if it was 6/10. No, it will be 1 if it was 6/10. It will be 1 if it was 10 tenths. It will be 1 if it was 14 tenths. This will be 1 in all cases, except when that random number was 10, except the last one. So 1/10 of the time, radfac will be 2. All other times, it will be 1. Okay. All right. Whatever radfac is, it's mostly 1, and the odd time it's 2. Okay, that's it. Now we've set up our Zalcunian. We do that for each Zalcunian, and we're done. Then we're going from a equals 1 to circ. Again, circ is the number of Zalcunians, so we're drawing the circle. That's it. The XY coordinate, the radius, and the color. Just draw the circle, the basic circle command. And we're going to do that for each Zalcunian, and then we're going to start the timer. Now we're into our... Oh, I said we were already in our game loop. No, that wasn't our game loop. This is our game loop. Okay, we're going to accept in keystring. Look at this. This is nice. I uppercased it immediately. Sweet. Okay, that's going to be put into press. Then we're going to look at press. If we hit right, then we're going to do the right subroutine. And similarly, left, up, and down. If we hit spacebar, then we're going to do fire. Okay. So that's nice that I've broken these out into their own subroutines. Let's see what they are. Okay. So when we hit the right button, we want everything to move left on the screen because relative to us, everything else is moving left when we move right. So I'm going to go to each Zalcunian. If count is equal to 1, remember we set count up here somewhere. Here we go. When we initialized each Zalcunian, we set this value to 1. I now have an understanding of what that is. If that is 1, which it was when we initialized it, then draw the circle in black, so erase where it was. Subtract 10 from its x-coordinate. If x is less than 0, then set x to be 640, so let it wrap around to the screen, the other end of the screen, and then draw the circle in its new position. That's it. That's what happens when we hit the right button. Okay. And left is going to be the exact same, except instead of subtracting 10, we're going to add 10 because everything is moving to the right. And you can be sure to imagine up, same thing, except we're adding 10 to our y direction because things are moving down. Remember, y coordinates increase as you move down. And then down, I'm sure is just the same thing. That's fine here. Oh, and I should be mentioning all these wraparound values are different. So when we move down, everything moves up. If it's less than 0, then throw it back at 480, the bottom of the screen. Okay. Now, when we do fire. And here it is. Okay. So we're going to draw a line from 0, 480 to 315, 240. 315 is almost in the center of the screen. We have a 640 width. So the very middle would be 320. Let's take all this stuff. Let's copy this and let's investigate these lasers. So, yes, let's end here so we can see the lasers as they got fired. So, yeah, 0480 to 315 240. So this is the line that's coming from the bottom left, and it's going to 315 240. So you look at the line coming from the bottom left, you see that it doesn't quite go to the center of the screen. I'm not sure why I didn't have all 4 lasers meet up into one position. Oh well. Okay. And it's going to be the same thing. So for the others, that's from the bottom right, that's from the top left, and the bottom and the top right. So those actually do go to the center of the screen, 320 240. The other ones don't. I'm not sure why. Oh well. Who am I to question myself? Okay, let's go to fire here. Okay, so this is why everything is freezing, because I'm waiting. The intention is to leave enough, wait for enough time on the screen so that the player can actually see the lasers shoot. But shooting the lasers pauses everything because there's this wait in here. Okay, let's try and, well, what happens if I don't wait? Is it that bad? Oh yeah, you can't even see the lasers. But they don't, I can almost hold down space almost. Okay, let's break out of this. Okay, so anyway, that's why the wait is there, and that's why everything freezes, because it's literally doing nothing. Oh well. Okay. Okay, then I'm drawing it and I'm erasing it. Then I'm going from 1 to circle. So for each Zalcunian, yeah, here we go. If the absolute value of the x-coordinate is minus 320 is less than the radius. Oh, right, because 320 is in the middle of the screen. That's where I shoot all the time. I'm always shooting in the very middle of the screen. So I'm checking to see if this particular Zalcunian basically gets hit. If his x-coordinate minus 320 is less than his radius. And same thing with the y. His y-coordinate minus 240 is less than the radius. Then I hit him. And what happens? If col A is greater than 0, then col A equals col A minus 3. Because each Zalcunian takes 5 hits, rather than keep track of how many hits I've, like hit points for a Zalcunian, no, I've said, well, I need to keep track of the hit points, and then based on the hit points left, that's going to determine their color. So when they're full health, they're color 15. When I've hit them once, they're going to turn red. When I hit them again, they're going to turn another color. So I have to keep their health and their color in memory somehow. And I decided, well, why not just use the same value for both? So really what I'm doing, literally in code, when I hit a Zalcunian, his color changes. That's it. If his color is greater than 0, which means he's not black, then subtract 3 from his color. He starts out at 15, then he's going to go down to color 12, which is bright red. If color is 0 and count A is 1, then. So we still haven't changed this count value. It's always 1 thus far. So if he's black, if his color is black and his count is 1, then draw a circle, draw him in color 3, which is what he was, because we subtract 3 every time, and then paint him this gross brownish color, and then draw this circle again and paint it black, and then draw him in his own color, which at this point is 0, so it erases him. Okay, so if his color is 0, his color is black, then he's dead, then count A equals 0. So the count value is either 1 or 0. If it's 1, he's alive. If it's 0, he's dead. So I use the color. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. When you hit his Alcunian, his color changes. When his color changes to black, that means he's dead. Okay. And then shots equals shots minus 1. Curious. I wonder if my original plan was to give you limited shots. Because you remember here, wherever that is, I start you off at 3 at the beginning of a level. And then every time I fire, I'm taking the shots and I'm subtracting 1 from it. Well, I don't know. Clearly I had way more shots than just those 3. So that's just probably not used. We'll see. We'll see. And this video is getting too long here, so we are going to stop here at the fire. Yeah, so we finished fire. Next time we'll pick it up after we have dealt at the point where we've dealt with all the key presses. Okay, thanks for joining me in this adventure in Old Code. Have a nice day, and we'll see you next time.